My name is Emil Galitsky. I'm a biochemistry major and I work in a research lab. I moved from Israel 7 years ago.
My name is Melanie Activist. I'm from Bulgaria and I'm planning on studying psychology and doing pre-med.
Hi, my name's Alvin Tran. I'm from Vietnam. I moved here when I was 12 and my major is undecided right now.
My name is Ben Trung. I immigrated over here from Vietnam when I was 7, and currently I am intended for an international studies major.
My name is Xochitl Suarez. My intended major is in education, communities, and organization. I'm a second-generation immigrant from Mexico.
Hi, my name is Mari. I am from Caracas, Venezuela, and I came here when I was 6 years old. I'm studying psychology and global health.
My name is Oscar Arregui Mendez. I am my country of origin, so I'm a second-generation immigrant. My parents immigrated here, and I was born here. I am a public health major here at the UW.
My name is Daniel Colina. I'm from Venezuela, and I'm studying bioresource engineering.
Alright, so my name is Jose Alarcon Santos. I was born in Mexico, Veracruz. I came here at the age of 2 to Seattle and stayed here ever since. I'm planning to study informatics.
So my parents immigrated here when I was 5 years old because they realized that there weren't that many opportunities in Bulgaria and they wanted their children to have better lives and more opportunities and to be able to finish out their education, so they decided to move over here.
Basically, in Venezuela, we have this president who came to power. His name is Hugo Chavez, and he was not so much of a president as more of a dictator, really. He was very strict with this regime, and what happened with my mom is that she was working at an oil company there. She works as an engineer, and she signed this petition. People were marching, people were signing this petition to try to get Chavez out of office. And my mom was one of the, I believe, around 10,000 employees who signed this petition. And what he did is he went through the list and fired every single one of them from work and did not give them any type of compensation, any type of, like, you know, when you get fired you usually get a little bit of sum of money to try to survive through, but no, my mom just was completely fired. So was everybody else who was protesting, so it was really terrible. But anyway, the reason that my mom very much wanted to immigrate to the US is because she wanted me to have stability growing up. I was very young. She wanted me to be able to go to a really good school and to have that stability and to have those opportunities, especially to go to college. That's something that I have been primed for my whole life. My parents have really, really emphasized me to go to university and pursue higher education, so that was something that they really had as a goal.
My family immigrated to America. I would say pretty stereotypical reason. I mean, they wanted to be able to give their kids a better life. So my parents came here to work mostly, and that's why I'm here.
So basically there was a lot of unemployment, and the government suddenly switched to a dictatorship, and it was unexpected. So a lot of people were protesting against that, and those that did want to fight the political regime would lose their jobs. Right now it's gotten a lot worse, but at the time that I was there wasn't a lot of food, medicine. Unemployment was really big, so I remember we had to live for a year where both of my parents were unemployed, and so we just lived in poverty for a complete year. And my mom was applying all over the globe trying to get a job, trying to find a way out of Venezuela. My dad worked in the National Guard, but he had protested against the government and signed a petition against it, so then he was fired immediately afterwards, after that came out in the press. But luckily my mom was offered a job in Canada, so after that year, that's when we moved to Canada, and things got a lot better, but we still had to leave a lot of my family behind.
So my parents actually originally came here illegally, so they crossed the border. As a result of that, my mom was actually, later on down the line after we were born, she was deported. So when she was deported, I actually went with her, so I spent a couple of years living in Mexico after that while she got all of her paperwork figured out. So yeah, they came here legally at first, but then after being here, they were able to get all of their citizenship worked out.
Yeah, I had to leave all my family except only my parents and my siblings came with me. My grandparents pretty much raised me until I was 10, and I only get to see them once a year now. I left all my friends, who I still consider some of my best friends, and we text, but I don't see them anymore. I also think a big part of it is that I left Israel as a country. I left the culture. What helped me a lot when moving to America was trying to find, in some way, some organization that would connect me back to the culture, because it is a part of me. It was a big struggle at first, until I found some organization to help maintain my culture.
I left behind all of my family. The only people that I have here are my mom, my dad, my sister, and my aunt. All of my grandparents, all of my cousins, they're all in Europe. Most of them are in Bulgaria or Turkey. And it's been really hard to know that they're all there, and we have a 9-hour time difference between us.
The only people that came with me from my family was just like my mom, dad, and grandma, brother and sister. But everyone else, that's, you know, my grandpa, uncles, aunts, all those people are still in Venezuela, and they're constantly calling us, asking them to send them medicine, send them any support for food. And so so we're always sending medicines because they're always out, and we're like simple things that we take for granted here, like, you know, like Tylenol or like migraine medicine, like stuff like that, just sending it over because they don't have any. Or like simple necessities too, like toilet paper, they don't have that. They're waiting in line for they wait in line for days or like hours just to get one roll, or just like simple things that you think that everyone should have, they don't have there.
It took around 7 years exactly. I got my citizenship about 2 to 3 months ago. It took a long time. I mean, it helped that my dad, who worked in Microsoft from his position, it was a constant mailing and talking on the phone with agencies until we got the citizenship.
It took so long. Like, oh my gosh. I feel like my parents have a more intimate knowledge of the Constitution than the people living here. Just so because like they study at night overnight for like 6 months. They got the package for a year, and then it took like a steady over time kind of thing, because they still have jobs and obligations and like, stuff like that, so they can't just like sit down and study.
Yeah. From what I remember, I moved here when I was around 6 years old, so it took us, a while. It took us at least 8 years, I believe, to get the citizenship, because we didn't get it until I was around like 12 or 14. So we actually, the whole naturalization ceremony, everything happened when we were living up in Alaska. I lived there for about 3 years, and my parents, I was there with them. I helped them we made little note cards, and it was all of these American history questions, like, you know, who was the first president of the United States, and like all of these random, kind of obscure questions, but I had learned all of them in my American history class, so I was always helping my parents with flashcards, things like that. And then both my mom and my stepdad went to go take the test to be naturalized, and so once that whole process went through, they passed, everything was great. We had the whole ceremony. In terms of the cost, I'm not actually totally sure how much it costs, but definitely in terms of time, it was pretty costly. Not only did we have to live in the U.S., we had to, you know, prove that we were committed U.S. citizens. We had to pretty much, I think the U.S. also asks you to give up your other citizenships in terms to be able to be a citizen here, but we actually were able to keep the dual citizenship, luckily. So we still have the Venezuelan passports and everything. But yeah, the main memories that I have with that are just like these multitudes of questions about like all these random American history facts, some of them so obscure that I hadn't even learned them myself, so.
Well, it was so exciting because it takes a lot longer than a lot of people would think. So originally Canada, that was really fairly quick, but here in the US, I've been living here for about 6 years, and that's how long it took for me to get approved, because it was just this really long process of first staying here for 5 years and then applying. And for a lot other people, it's a lot worse. Like some of my friends, they are still waiting for it, and they applied years ago, and so often have to go to the offices and the embassies and ask what's happening because it just gets lost in the works and it's a really complicated process. But for me, it was so exciting having it, and I was happy it didn't take very long, but for a lot of people, it's not like that.
I think the quality of living in the US is a lot higher. Israel is definitely not a third world country and we had everything, but you don't have as much stress on. You don't have to constantly think about your bills and you don't have to constantly think about other stuff, and that is only because my dad was able to get a better career opportunity in America than he did in Israel. I also have gained a huge opportunity going to University of Washington, which I would not have been able to if I was in Israel. I am currently studying biochemistry, so there's a lot of scientific focus in America and a lot of different hospitals and research labs that wouldn't have been the combined with would not have been as much in Israel.
I think the main one for me was being able to go to college, because I know, looking at my cousins that are similar to my age, neither of them finished college, or neither of them went to college. One of them didn't even finish high school, and they're all just working with their family on the farm, and like they feel like their life's not very fulfilling, and they look very uninterested with everything that they do because they don't have as many opportunities as I do here.
More easy access to technology. We are surrounded by so much stuff, and then you go back, like I go back to Vietnam, and like Wi-Fi is hard. Like we take Wi-Fi for granted. I forget I pay for Wi-Fi sometimes. That's how much I take it for granted. And like we just don't have that connectivity in parts of Vietnam, and I think that's the opportunity that I was missing out on.
Good.
A lot of my time is kind of spent in awe of the opportunities that I have being here, just from the educational opportunities to have gone to a school in the US and now be able to go to a university in the US. It's something that I constantly feel blessed by, because both of my parents didn't have the opportunity to go to like university or college. My mom, she had to drop out of school when she was in 6th grade so that she could support her family. So being able to do that educational journey and kind of prove that given the same chances they would have been able to do the same has been a really great motivator for me.
I'm not saying that where I was from is a bad place, but it just wasn't the best for me to shine my light toward a community. Here I had the opportunity to grow up with many different people, and attending school in 3 different school districts allowed me to see what everybody is capable of and how to handle the various people from different backgrounds and how to contribute to diversity coming here. I feel that here they allowed me to express my colors, and they had a chance and give a chance to everyone to show who they really are. And I don't think I would have had that if I had stayed back, which is why I set out to be an example for those who are trying to seek higher education and such. And I think this place for giving opportunities to immigrants and people who are not from this area, because we all have a light to shine here in this community, so yeah.
I'd say to definitely not take it for granted, to know that there are so many people that would want to be in your shoes and to have your opportunities, and even though you may struggle with certain things, remember that there are other people that are struggling a little bit harder because they don't have those opportunities and can't go to things like school, which a lot of people complain about, but so many other people would want to have that opportunity.
I would say that you guys are really lucky to be given the opportunities. You're given your opportunities, and you also don't have to work as hard to get the opportunities.
Like when you come over here, there's this thing where like you're not smart in English kind of thing. So like when I'm trying to read a book, people would like, there was this one time when I was checking out a book and the librarian asked me, can you read 5 words on this page? And that was my requirement for checking out the book. And like, I was kind of pissed, but.
So I went to a Catholic middle school. I was the only Mexican boy there. And I faced discrimination as I was like the minority of the minority. So there was a handful of Asians and a handful of Caucasians there. And I would just be bullied just for my race, which wasn't really like the best thing. It was I mean, it's kind of hard, but it also helped me to come to learn that like being who you are is like the best thing ever. It made me love even more to be Mexican. So yeah, other than that, and also in high school, I was also a minority, also placed among a community of Caucasians and such. And that just motivated me just to be a role model for others, and I just I tried to overcome the discrimination that came towards me by not accepting it, but just showing my true colors toward them and not caring what they say to me, which also just led to me to be who I am and embrace it.
The main thing that I struggle with being an immigrant to the US is kind of balancing out my two identities in terms of my cultural identities. I think coming in as an immigrant, there's a lot of pressure to be like, show that you are the perfect American, right? And show that you're here to work and show that you're here to be part of this American dream, you know? But yeah, so what I struggle with mostly is kind of balancing out my American identity that I've acquired here, you know, going to the school system and having a lot of American friends, and then having my Venezuelan identity, which is a lot different, right? So Venezuelan identity is a lot more about family, and it's a lot more about, you know, the collective goal rather than individualism that, you know, the US like so strongly pushes for. So yeah, that's kind of.
I mean, I would say my skin color oftentimes is one of the reasons that I am perceived differently. Obviously, people of color are oftentimes, there's a lot of stereotypes that come along with being a person of color in the US, especially going into places like convenience store or anything like that. It's like really obvious when you're being followed just because you like are brown, or when I'm with any of my other friends who are people of color, especially in groups, we get followed around a lot just to make sure we're not stealing, which I would say is definitely one of those reasons that you feel like you're being treated differently.
I think the public perception is definitely a negative one. I think people that are from here, when they see an immigrant, wouldn't necessarily hate on them, but they would immediately think of them as different than them. And I don't think it's the right kind of different. People against me, I've experienced a lot of microaggression, small jokes, small comments that they don't necessarily mean harm, but the fact that they see me as such different does take a toll on me in a lot of my life. And I think also the perception of immigrant is wrong. I wouldn't say wrong, but is not really valid, because an immigrant can come from Taiwan, can come from Canada, can come from Israel, Mexico, China, Germany, can come from so many different places, and everyone obviously is going to be different, so you can't really define an immigrant as the same person, and they also come from different socioeconomic status. So it's very hard when people view an immigrant, oh, he's an immigrant, he's different, he's not as good, and just different in so many ways. While they are different, because that's what we should strive to be, we should not immediately look at an immigrant and just categorize them as an immigrant.
I always have to work harder than my peers and have to prove myself at some point. One time I was on vacation from Vietnam, and I was on my flight back here, and at customs, the security person, the phrasing that she used to ask us if we have any fruit or anything illegal was really weird and interesting, because she phrased it as, where are your fruits, instead of, do you have any fruit or any meat like that. Yeah.
I don't want to generalize the public, but a lot of people just don't like the fact that immigrants are coming into their country, even though the US is like a diverse country and isn't just based on one race or just one community. Like, we're supposed to be freedom for all, or a freedom country, and we don't even let other people in when there's issues elsewhere, because, you know, we might only think about ourselves. I definitely always viewed myself different from when I was younger, because I always like spoke two languages, so I was like, oh, why don't I just speak English? Which obviously to me, I didn't realize that, that's a good thing. You don't see what you have until you grow older and acknowledge that it's okay to be from a different culture. It's okay to not be born in America. You're not, any other different than other people.
When I first moved to Canada, I didn't know a single word of English, and I was 10 years old, and I faced a lot of racism and prejudice because of that, and I had no way of defending myself other than just isolating myself from everyone that was kind of harassing me, bullying me because I couldn't speak English or because I was different, because I didn't look like them. I think I was the only Hispanic person there. There were no other people of color there, so I think it was just they weren't used to that and they felt the need to attack me for it. So I have witnessed that, and it wasn't until I learned English and I could, speak up for myself and speak up for diversity that it stopped. For a lot of people, they see something unfamiliar and they think that they need to attack it because it's not something they're used to.
People just see immigrants as just people who just don't know what they're doing in the first place once they come here. But you'd be surprised how many are kind of on track with what they set out to do when they come to a new country. I also feel like they discriminate them at first, and they're not ready to accept them in the very beginning. It's affected my view for myself because it allowed me to make sure I'm on track with what I'm doing. I set out to become a role model for those who I've grown up with, because I've grown up with people who I kind of see the stereotype of immigrants in communities I've lived in. There's people who don't follow the ideal example to set for the younger generation. For example, like I lived in a community where along people who are my ethnicity that didn't care about school as much, and which made me set my goals differ from them, and end up at a university like this. And I think that it's great. It allowed me to, because I want to set a role model for people of my ethnicity. I don't want people to think that immigrants are just people who are just here to just take jobs and such and just be there. They're just people who are just trying to be motivated and just help society for the better and such.
As a Vietnamese, I think I'm the right kind of immigrant. Where Asians are perceived as smart and they can go in and be beneficial to the country. So we are welcomed in a sense. Now that compared to other immigrants that are facing discrimination. So as for me, I don't really have a lot of aggression towards myself personally. So that's why a lot of my things are more news. And I just know stuff because of this presidency now.
But it has with my family because a lot of them are not citizens yet and they still only have their green card, and a lot of them are afraid to travel out of the country because they fear that they won't be able to get back into the country.
I have become more politically activated. I read a lot of news articles, and I guess even when he started running, I started educating myself because I was gonna vote, so I needed to see who is this person and what does he want to do. So I've become more educated politically, and I've definitely tried to help people understand this is a bad situation, but you can overcome anything, and just because he's the president doesn't mean he can do damage to every single person. When Donald Trump got elected, I cried for 2 hours because I was how could the US do something like this? I felt really backstabbed, and I felt offended because Donald Trump became the president, because I know people who voted for him, and so that kind of affected me because I'm okay, so some of your views align with conservative and the Republican Party, but the anti-immigrants, the anti-Muslim views were really they hurt because it felt really personal. It kind of felt like a personal attack because of Donald Trump. And
he said in his campaign run toward that Latinos are like rapists and such, and that just I feel like that's a that's not even, I don't think that's possible, like that immigrants could be portrayed as that. His wall idea is just outrageous. I don't know how that's gonna help. I feel like the stats and facts are there that, immigrants are helping people. I'm here, I'm, contributing to diversity, I'm a good person. But his wall movement is just how much money is like billions of dollars placed into that? That's outrageous. That money could be gone toward like education and such, and like allow kids to attend universities at lower tuition rates and such. So no matter what, I feel like it's a disgrace. People here understand that we all deserve to stay here, and just with a figure like that, just saying we should build a wall and such, is not going to separate us. I feel like it's going to unite us even more. So other than that, all in all, the dude doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
I think I would say that sometimes you don't realize how people that come are different in different ways. So for me, I had a really hard time with the language. When I came in, I still have an accent, but when I came in, it took me a long time to learn language, and I also had a lisp. And throughout middle school and beginning of high school, I would get made fun of, and I would have a really hard time talking, and I lost a lot of confidence in myself. I didn't want to say certain words because people would be like, can you say this and can you say that? But I think throughout high school I realized that it doesn't matter that much.
If you want to understand what it's like, it just kind of takes empathizing and being really understanding with what it's like to balance so many cultures and what it's like to be so far from home too. Especially when your family is very important to you. I think it takes kind of learning that coming to the US is immigrating anywhere, honestly, is a brave move, right? You're leaving everything that you own and everything that you have to go to a new place because you so firmly believe in the opportunities that are there. So in terms to understand us, I think it just takes kind of thinking about talking to us, right? Talking to immigrants and talking to people and seeing what their life experiences have been like. Some people have had way more difficult paths than others. So I think to understand it just takes a lot of sharing of feelings.
I would say what it feels like to be an immigrant is feeling a sense of appreciation for everything that comes in my life, and and the opportunities that I can pursue because I'm living here in the US. And I feel like a lot of people take that for granted because they haven't experienced the opposite situation where they don't have all the privileges, all the opportunities, all the resources. But for me, it's like I have witnessed what it's like to not be able to do something that you want to do, or not have food, or not have medicine that you need. So to me, when I'm like able to have that here and with like just on a snap of a finger, I'm really grateful for that. So I think people should keep in mind.
It's not as good to try to blend in because you're obviously trying your hardest to become an American or to become part of the country that you're immigrating into, and that's not necessarily a good thing because it will not make you happy because first of all, you're most likely not going to succeed because people will never see you as completely American no matter what. And also, it's still important to keep a hold of where you come from and as a culture because you are different than them. You are different than them because that's what we should all strive to be. We should all strive to be individuals. So you bringing your culture and keeping onto your culture is as important as you trying to be an American because only when you have both of them you can like truly be yourself.
I wish I knew that people would think of me different and that I wouldn't always have the same opportunities as everyone else because even though I do get to go to the same school, people expect different things from me. Whether it be people would expect for me to do worse because I'm an immigrant, or people would expect me to just not try as hard. and I wish I would have been able to cope with that earlier on because it's been kind of different.
You don't have to prove yourself to everyone, and you don't have to try too hard to fit into the mode and stereotypes of what people put you in.
Don't worry, you can still go back to Vietnam. Like, that is a privilege that I don't think a lot of like immigrants have, like the ability to go back to where they come from. That's like huge, and for the little 7-year-old me to realize that she had the privilege to actually do that would really comfort her a lot.
I would tell myself that it's okay that I have all of these different cultures, and it's okay to embrace the fact that I am Venezuelan, and I don't have to act like an American around my American friends, right? I can share myself and I can share my culture. I think that's something that I was really afraid to do. I tried really hard to assimilate to the American lifestyle and just kind of like disintegrate everything else that I had built up with my Venezuelan identity. So I think what I would tell myself is just like, you are Venezuelan and you rock, and it's okay.
You're gonna thrive no matter what, as long as you put your mind and heart into it.
Here in the U.S., everybody knows it's a melting pot, and that's what makes it the U.S. I would tell myself and other people coming in from different countries not lose that part of themselves, that not lose their culture and be proud of where they're from, because that's in the end that's what makes us American.
I would tell myself, like, go back in time and tell myself, I would just tell myself that because there's been times where growing up, like I kind of question, like, you know, is this really who I am? Why did I end up like this? Like, why do I have to be an immigrant? Blah 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 blah. Why do I have to live like a low income? Like, why can't I be like the other kids? And just like I would just tell myself that like it's great who you are. Like I think it's amazing that you ended up like this to overcome these obstacles and be proud of them and set an example for those who are coming up in footsteps where you've been. And I would also tell him that don't like keep your head up high. Like, yeah, there's all these people like you know, like making you look bad or just looking down on you. But like that gives you more of a, you know, a right to like shine your light even more, and you know, and go to places like this to like, you know, help others who are struggling with other issues of diversity. But yeah, just that, you know, our own diversity is like really special. We should like embrace it. We should brag about it. We should, you know, cooperate with others. You know, we all shouldn't be the same. So yeah, I'm just glad that I ended up being Mexican.